Uruguay has long stood in the shadow of its more volatile neighbor to the west, Argentina. And like Argentina, is best known for its beef, wine, love of football, and even its take on tango. But that all changed in 2013, when the South American country took the unprecedented steps to becoming the first in the world to legalize and regulate its recreational marijuana industry. This is 53-year-old Eduardo Blasina. He's an agronomist and cannabis industry entrepreneur who directs Uruguay's Cannabis Museum. Situated inside this renovated 1930s home, Blasina spreads the word about the cannabis plant, its history, and its benefits to both local and foreign visitors.
Many people only think about the plant in relation with the psychoactive effect that can have smoking the flower, but the plant is much more interesting and has a very long history of providing food and clothes and many different products to humankind. So I thought it was interesting to show all the different ways that cannabis is used, including the medicinal use that is probably the most important one from an ethical point of view, but also from an economic point of view in this century.
As more countries contemplate legalizing marijuana, many are closely watching Uruguay for its successes and failures. And while there is a widespread belief that marijuana is mostly beneficial, there is also a lack of scientific knowledge on its effects. Some believe legalizing the use of the plant could help in furthering our understanding of what it can do.
I think that there's so many different industries that can profit from the usage of the plant. And if it is legal, then also there's going to be more money for research. So we're going to be able to see if there's even more advantages that we can get from this plant than what we already know about.
This marijuana shop sells everything from accessories to sophisticated gear for growing cannabis at home. It's one of 3 ways Uruguayans over the age of 18 can legally possess marijuana for recreational use. Registered home growers can have up to 6 flowering plants in their homes and are limited to harvesting 480 grams a year, while individuals can purchase up to 40 grams of cannabis from an approved shop for personal use every month. Shop owner Federico Opalo says business is booming.
Y hoy en día, quieras o no, con el tema de la regularización está creciendo el negocio y se puede trabajar bien.
But it is hardly a pothead free-for-all here. To begin with, cannabis is only available to citizens of the country and foreign residents. Non-medical users must register to buy it. So far, according to government regulators, only slightly more than 45,000 of Uruguay's 3.4 million people have registered. And tourists cannot buy marijuana, although they can try it if someone offers to share or gives it as a gift. Blasina believes this is a missed opportunity and that the law should be changed.
People that come from outside Uruguay because of legalization probably, or just because the freedom that we have in Uruguay related with different issues, but they are not allowed to buy legally weed. So when they want to smoke, they are, we could say, being pushed to the black market.
Most banks in Uruguay route their international transactions through the United States. But these banks are regulated by the 2001 Patriot Act, which intended to prevent terrorists from using the international banking system to launder profits from the sale of illegal drugs. So U.S. banks have threatened to stop doing business with banks in Uruguay that provide services to the country's legal cannabis industry. Because of the pressure from banks, only 17 out of 1,000 government pharmacies in Uruguay sell marijuana. The Caceres pharmacy in Montevideo is one, but its owners prefer not to talk about the bank restrictions because theirs is a cash-only business. Ricardo Martelletti, a 51-year-old publicist, says he buys at the pharmacy because it's cheap and he can trust what he's getting.
Sabe que un producto está controlado, que no tiene otras sustancias tóxicas que puedan perjudicar a la salud. Es solo flor, es buen perfume, rico y bueno, ese es el motivo.
The third way people here can obtain recreational marijuana is by becoming members of not-for-profit cannabis growing clubs. But there have been complaints about mistreatment and intimidation by the police. We were invited to film in one club, but when members found out they might be seen on YouTube, they withdrew their consent to be filmed and only allowed us to film these plants. The cannabis market in Uruguay is diversifying. One of the country's iconic beverages is mate. Now, cannabis growers are combining the drink with non-psychoactive cannabis extract for flavor. The owners of this business say the market is small but steady and lucrative. Now selling an average 50 tons per month, they are planning to introduce even more products. Marijuana chefs are also carving out a niche. Gustavo Columbek, a Brazilian who moved to Uruguay, invents creative cannabis-infused dishes that he says are a culinary experience. For now, because of restrictions in the law, they must be prepared in private settings.
A cannabis tem várias espécies, mas algumas com aromas e gostos distintos de coisas que a gente já comeu. Por exemplo, um queijo, chocolate, bom, tem vários aí, limão, laranja, tangerina. Então esses gostos eu costumo utilizar na comida, sempre preservando os terpenos e o THC e o CBD.
Martin Rodriguez, the executive director of Uruguay's Institute for the Regulation and Control of Cannabis, or IRCCA, agrees there are glitches in the law that affect entrepreneurs, but believes these problems will find solutions. He says regulators are having trouble keeping up with the business demand for permits.
Entre los distintos tipos de proyectos hay 35 ya registrados y después tenemos en el entorno de 25 que están en evaluación actualmente, pero bien perfilados para obtener una licencia. Globalmente considerados, actualmente prevén hacer una inversión entre todos de algo más de $100 millones. Y lo mismo con impacto en puestos de trabajo. Todos instalados con su actividad regular y con su proyecto desarrollado, estimamos que pueden estar incorporando, generando 3.500 puestos de trabajo de manera directa.
For example, Fatmer Life Sciences, based in Uruguay, is the only company licensed to export medicinal cannabis from Latin America. Located 120 kilometers from Montevideo, the company's first harvest is ready to be sent abroad. Jordan Lewis is one of the owners who says potential clients include Europe, Australia, and Canada.
What we're doing is we're capturing all of the essential oils and cannabinoids from the plant and pulling it out in the form of an oil and leaving behind all of the vegetable matter. Our goal is to go from about 6 tons of production to 10 tons to about 30 tons and grow from there.
Medical marijuana is now Uruguay's main source of cannabis income, with $100 million in revenue expected next year. But ironically, it can only be exported, which means the medical marijuana for sale on the shelves of Caceres Pharmacy is imported. Another gray zone in the law.
We should provide a better access to medicinal cannabis for local people that currently can only have products that are imported from Switzerland that are very expensive, and we still didn't find a way of putting medicinal cannabis in contact with people in Uruguay that have epilepsy or any other issue.
There are also political challenges. The cannabis law was approved during the government of the leftist Broad Front Party headed by Pepe Mujica 6 years ago. But some politicians, like Senator German Cardoso from the traditional Colorado Party, believe the government should not be in the marijuana business.
Lo que el Estado pretende y justifica como razón fundamental de tomar esta decisión es que va a bajar el consumo a partir de la educación, de la concientización, y que aparte se le va a quitar el mercado, el negocio, a las organizaciones delictivas, a los narcotraficantes. Bueno, no pasó ninguna de las dos cosas. Hoy que podemos analizar en el año 2019 cuál ha sido el transcurso de la aplicación de esta norma, implica que se ha duplicado y tal vez triplicado el consumo de cannabis.
While there is no evidence to show that the country's crime is related to marijuana consumption, the public perception that all is not right with recreational marijuana is evident. According to Monitor Cannabis, an agency evaluating cannabis use in Uruguay, in 2017, for the first time ever, the majority of the population backed the use of medical marijuana. But when it comes to recreational cannabis, opinions are divided, with 42% against and 44% in favor. Even after 6 years, Blasina says the law is still controversial.
I think that politicians don't like to talk about cannabis because they fear losing votes, because it's a new thing and many people still think that this is a drug. And this is not a drug, this is a plant that has been very useful for humanity for thousands of years. It's not for everyone, and I think more information is needed and more consciousness about waiting until you reach adultness to have the experience of smoking anything, not only weed, but in the specific case of weed, I think more emphasis should be put on avoiding drinking alcohol, smoking tobacco, or smoking weed when we are still not 18 years old.
Clearly, Uruguayans are experiencing their marijuana legislation in different ways. Even while the domestic market seems to be rather small, the potential for global exports is attracting a great deal of investment interest. For now, Uruguay has high ambitions, hoping for a booming global medical marijuana market and positioning itself as a frontrunner.